I never believed in ghosts, or spirits, or anything that couldn't be explained. But now, every time I close my eyes, I see him. It started with whispers. Lily, my 6-year-old daughter, had always been a quiet kid. She liked her dolls, her books, and cuddling with me on the couch while watching cartoons. But lately I'd noticed something odd. She'd been talking to herself more often. At first I assumed it was normal. Kids have imaginary friends, right? Then last night, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. to the sound of her whispering. I shuffled out of bed, groggy, rubbing my eyes. Her door was slightly open, the hallway light barely creeping into her room. "Lily?" I whispered. She was sitting in the middle of the floor, back turned to me, whispering to someone. My stomach tightened. She wasn't alone. She giggled softly and nodded at the empty space in front of her. "Okay," she whispered, "but Daddy will be mad." I took a step forward, my throat dry. "Lily, who were you talking to?" She froze. Slowly, she turned to look at me. Her little hands clutched her stuffed bunny. She looked scared. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Daddy, you weren't supposed to see him." I forced a chuckle, trying to shake the uneasy feeling creeping over me. "See who, sweetheart?" She hesitated, glancing at the empty air beside her. Then, in the softest voice, she muttered, "The man in the closet." I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. After what I saw, after what I heard, how could I? That scratching inside the closet, the slow creaking of the door opening on its own, and then, nothing. My brain kept replaying it like a broken record, trying to convince itself there had to be a logical explanation. A draft, maybe. The house settling, some stupid trick of my exhausted mind. But no matter how much I tried to reason it away, one truth remained. I saw that closet door move. And worse, I felt watched. My body was stiff with exhaustion, but my mind refused to let go. Every little sound in the apartment made me flinch. A car passing outside, the hum of the fridge, the occasional tick of the pipes. Each one sent a fresh wave of adrenaline through my system. I kept staring at the closet door, half expecting it to open again. But it didn't. It just sat there, looming in the dark, like it was waiting. At some point, the sun started creeping through the blinds, and the dim glow of morning made everything feel safer. The fear didn't vanish, but it dulled, like a nightmare fading as you wake up. By 7 a.m., I decided I needed to act like a sane person. I swung my legs over the bed and stood up, rubbing my temples. It was nothing, I muttered to myself, just to hear my own voice, just to make this whole thing feel less insane. With shaky steps, I walked over to the closet. My fingers hesitated on the handle before I yanked the door open. Clothes, shoes, storage bins. It looked exactly how I left it. The only difference was that the air inside felt wrong. It smelled stale, like an old attic that had been locked up for decades. That didn't make sense. I opened this closet every day. I reached inside, pushing some jackets aside. There was nothing unusual, no holes in the walls, no hidden compartments, no possible way someone or something could have been in there. I sighed, losing my damn mind. Still, I needed to get out of the apartment. I threw on some clothes and decided to grab coffee from the shop down the street. Some fresh air would help clear my head. The coffee shop was warm, the smell of fresh pastries filling the air. It was a comforting kind of normal, a reminder that the world outside my apartment was real, solid. I ordered a black coffee and took a seat by the window, watching people go about their day. I almost convinced myself that last night was a weird dream, until I got a text from Danielle. "Danielle, hey, you okay?" I frowned. "Me? Yeah, why?" "Danielle, I had a weird feeling, like, I don't know, bad dream, I guess, just wanted to check on you." My stomach nodded. Danielle never texted me like this. She wasn't the kind of person to worry over nothing. Me, I didn't sleep great. Weird noises in my apartment, probably nothing, but kind of freaked me out. There was a long pause before she replied. "Danielle, was it the closet?" I nearly dropped my coffee. A chill ran up my spine. I stared at my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen. "What? How did you know?" 3 dots appeared as she typed. Then they vanished. Then they came back. "Danielle, when I stayed over that one time, I never told you, but I woke up in the middle of the night and the closet door was open. I was sure I closed it. I just thought I was imagining things, so I didn't say anything. I swallowed hard. You're serious? Yell, I swear. I got a bad feeling and just shut my eyes until morning. My hands were shaking. I put the phone down, staring blankly at the table. This wasn't just in my head. Someone else had noticed it. The closet door moved on its own. I took a deep breath. It's fine, I muttered under my breath. Maybe Danielle's experience was just a coincidence. Maybe we both just imagined it. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. I decided right then, I needed to get rid of that closet. When I got back to my apartment, I grabbed my toolbox from under the sink and set to work. I was going to remove that damn door. If it wasn't there, it couldn't open on its own, right? The hinges were old but not impossible. After some struggling, I managed to loosen the screws. One by one, I pulled them out, my breath quickening. The whole time, I felt like I was being watched. The air in the apartment felt thick, suffocating. Finally, the last screw came loose and I pulled the door away. I almost laughed until I saw it. Scratch marks. Not just on the inside of the door, but on the back of the frame. Deep grooves in the wood like something had been clawing at it, like something had been trapped. My body went cold. That was the moment I made my first real mistake. I leaned in closer to inspect the scratches, running my fingers over them. They weren't old. The wood was splintered, fresh, as if whatever had made them had done so recently. And then, a whisper, blow right against my ear. Why did you open it? I stumbled back, heart pounding. My breath came in quick gasps. My eyes darted around the room, but there was no one there. No sign of movement. Nothing. The whisper had come from inside the closet. I grabbed the door and shoved it back against the frame, holding it in place like that would somehow stop whatever was in there from coming out. My mind was screaming at me to run, to get the hell out of that apartment. But I didn't move. I just stood there, my back pressed against the door, listening. The apartment was silent. And then, from the darkness of the closet, something knocked. Once. Twice. Then slowly, 3 times. I bolted. I didn't stop running until I was outside. The cold air hit me like a slap, and I sucked in a sharp breath, trying to steady myself. My hands were shaking so badly that I nearly dropped my phone as I fumbled to call Danielle. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, what's... I need to stay at your place, I blurted out. A pause. What? I can't... I swallowed hard, glancing up at my apartment window. It was just a dark square, perfectly normal, perfectly still. But I knew something was inside. Please, I'll explain when I get there. Danielle hesitated, then sighed. Yeah, of course, just come over. I practically sprinted to her apartment. By the time I got there, my lungs were burning. Danielle opened the door, her expression shifting from concern to alarm the moment she saw me. Jesus, you look like hell. I pushed past her and collapsed onto her couch. My whole body was trembling. She sat beside me, her brow furrowed. Okay, talk. I told her everything. Every damn thing. The sounds, the door moving on its own, the scratches, the whisper. By the time I finished, Danielle's face was pale. You heard something? I nodded. She swallowed hard. I thought maybe, I don't know, a loose hinge, the wind, but this... She ran a hand through her hair. This is bad. No shit. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Danielle stood. You're not going back there. I blinked at her. She crossed her arms. You're staying here, we'll figure this out, but you are not sleeping in that apartment tonight. I should have argued. Should have said I wasn't going to let some weird-ass closet scare me out of my own home. But the truth was, I was relieved. I didn't want to go back. Not yet. That night I slept in Danielle's living room. It wasn't exactly comfortable, but at least I felt safe. No strange noises. No closet doors opening on their own. Just the soft hum of her apartment, the occasional car passing outside. But then, I woke up to the sound of scratching. I jolted upright, my heart pounding. The room was dark, but the sound was unmistakable. Long, slow scratches. Coming from Danielle's closet, I turned toward her bedroom door. Danielle! My voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. No response. The scratching continued. A chill ran down my spine. I forced myself to stand, every muscle screaming at me to run, but I had to see. I had to know. Step by step, I approached the closet. The air around it felt wrong, thick, heavy, like something was pressing against my chest. I reached for the handle, and then, a thud from inside. I yelped and stumbled back. My breath came in ragged gasps. The scratching had stopped. I stood there, frozen, waiting, listening. Then, from inside the closet, I heard it. A voice. "Not yours." I ran. Danielle found me on the fire escape, knees pulled to my chest, shaking. "What the hell happened?" she asked, kneeling beside me. I couldn't speak at first. My throat felt tight like I'd swallowed glass, but finally I managed to choke out, "Your closet." Her face went pale. I forced myself to keep talking. I heard scratching, then a voice. She swallowed. "What did it say?" I met her eyes, my voice barely a whisper. "Not yours." Silence. Then so quietly I almost didn't hear her, Danielle said, "I think it followed you." We didn't sleep. We spent the rest of the night sitting in her kitchen. Every light in the apartment turned on. Every so often, Danielle would glance toward the hallway, toward her closet, her fingers digging into her mug like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. By sunrise, we had a plan. "We need to go back," Danielle said. I stared at her. "Are you insane?" She shook her head. "If it followed you here, it's not just your apartment. That means we can't ignore it. We need to find out what it wants." I hated that she made sense, but I hated the idea of going back even more. Still, an hour later, we were standing outside my apartment door. I hesitated, my key hovering over the lock. My stomach churned, my hands sweaty. Every instinct screamed, "Don't go in." But we did. The apartment felt normal, too normal, like whatever had been here was hiding, waiting. Danielle walked straight to the closet. "We need to check inside." I swallowed hard. I already did. She shot me a look. "Together." I nodded, my throat dry. We stepped forward. The air felt colder the closer we got. I could see Danielle's hands shaking as she reached for the handle. I held my breath. She pulled the door open. At first, nothing. Just clothes, boxes. Then, I saw it. A hole in the back of the closet. It hadn't been there before. The edges of the wood were jagged, splintered, like something had torn through it. Beyond the hole, there was only darkness. And then, a hand. Pale, long fingers, crawling out from the black. Danielle screamed. I slammed the door shut. Something slammed back from the other side. We ran. We didn't stop running until we were out of the building, gasping for breath on the sidewalk. I turned to Danielle, my voice shaking. "What the hell was that?" Her face was ashen. "I don't know," she whispered. "But it's not just a closet." I looked up at my window. The curtains shifted, like someone was standing behind them, watching, waiting, and for the first time I realized the closet hadn't just been opening on its own. Something had been trying to get out. I didn't go back to my apartment. Danielle and I sat in a coffee shop down the street, both of us too shaken to go home. My hands were still trembling as I sipped my drink, the taste of burnt espresso doing nothing to calm my nerves. Danielle was staring at the table, lost in thought. I knew she was just as freaked out as I was, but she was better at hiding it. Finally, she spoke. "We need to find out what's going on." I let out a hollow laugh. "You say that like there's some kind of logical explanation." She shot me a look. "There has to be. The closet, the hole in the back, that thing." She trailed off, her face tightening. I shuddered. "You saw it too, right?" She nodded. "Yeah, I saw it." We sat in silence for a long time. Then almost reluctantly I said, What if it's not just my apartment?" Danielle frowned. I lowered my voice. "What if it's the building?" We spent the next few hours doing research. We searched for anything about my apartment building. Accidents, deaths, missing persons. Anything that might explain what the hell was happening. At first, nothing. Then Danielle found something. An old newspaper article from 20 years ago. She turned her laptop toward me. The headline sent a chill down my spine. "Local man vanishes from locked apartment." I scanned the article. A man named Thomas Redding had lived in my exact apartment. One night, his neighbors heard loud banging and shouting coming from his unit. They called the police, but when officers arrived, the apartment was locked from the inside. When they broke the door down, he was gone. His clothes, his furniture, everything was still there. But Thomas himself had vanished. I swallowed hard. It doesn't say anything about a closet. Danielle scrolled down. Wait, here. My stomach twisted as I read. A hole was found in the back of his bedroom closet. Investigators believed it led to the wall between apartments, but the space was too small for anyone to fit through. The hole was sealed, but Thomas was never found. I felt like I was going to be sick. Danielle exhaled. You think? I don't know. I ran a hand through my hair. But we need to go back. She gaped at me. You're joking. I wasn't. If something had happened to Thomas, if he had been taken, then I needed to know. Because whatever had taken him, it was still in my closet. We waited until dark. I don't know why. Maybe because daylight felt safer, and deep down, I knew this thing thrived in the dark. When we got to my apartment, I hesitated at the door. My key felt like a lead weight in my hand. Danielle touched my arm. You don't have to do this. But I did. I unlocked the door. The air inside was stale, like no one had been inside for days, but I knew better. It had been waiting for me. Danielle followed close behind as we stepped inside. The floor creaked beneath us, every sound amplified by the heavy silence. My eyes went straight to the closet. The door was slightly ajar. Danielle swallowed. It wasn't like that when we left. I took a shaky step forward. The wood looked darker somehow, like it had rotted overnight. The air around it was thick, heavy with a smell I couldn't quite place. Something damp, something old. Danielle shined her flashlight toward the back. The hole was still there, but it was bigger now, wide enough for a person to fit through. I clenched my jaw. We need to see what's inside. Danielle's eyes widened. Are you insane? Maybe, but I couldn't leave it alone. I grabbed a crowbar from under my bed. Danielle watched in horrified silence as I wedged it into the splintered wood and pulled. The hole tore open with a sickening crack. Behind it was a tunnel, dark, narrow, leading into the walls. Danielle took a step back. No way, we're not doing this. But I was already crawling inside. The space was tight, the walls pressing against me on either side. The air was damp, thick with dust. I could hear Danielle whispering curses behind me as she reluctantly followed. The tunnel stretched forward, twisting and turning. My breath came in shallow gasps. The deeper we went, the worse the air smelled, like rotting wood. And something else, something dead. Then I saw it. A shape in the darkness. Danielle grabbed my arm. We should go back. But I couldn't move. The shape was human. A man. His body was twisted, his arms outstretched as if reaching for something. His skin was gray, his mouth frozen in a silent scream. Danielle made a choked sound. Is that? I already knew the answer. Thomas Redding. He hadn't vanished. He had been taken. The thing in the closet hadn't just killed him. It had kept him. And then, a whisper. Right behind us. Not yours. I spun around. Two glowing eyes stared at me from the darkness. I couldn't breathe. The thing moved. A long, clawed hand reached for me. Danielle screamed. I grabbed her wrist, yanking her back toward the tunnel. We scrambled, crawling as fast as we could. The walls scraped my arms, my legs, but I didn't care. I just needed to get out. The thing was behind us. I could hear it crawling, its nails scraping against the wood. Not yours, not yours. The whisper was everywhere, inside my head, echoing, mocking. I lunged out of the tunnel and into my apartment, dragging Danielle with me. I slammed the closet door shut. Silence. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then, a thud from the other side. Slow, rhythmic, like something was knocking. My breath hitched. Danielle whispered, "It's still there." I nodded. And then, the knocking stopped, a voice just barely audible. "You should not have looked." The light flickered, and the door creaked open. I didn't move. Danielle didn't move. We just stared as the closet door swung open. The darkness inside wasn't just darkness. It was thicker, heavier, like the absence of light itself. And somewhere deep within that void, I could hear breathing. Slow, wet, hungry. The whisper came again, but this time it wasn't inside my head. It was right in front of me. "You should not have looked." A hand shot out. Long, bony fingers wrapped around my wrist. I screamed. Danielle lunged forward, grabbing my other arm and pulling with everything she had. The thing in the closet hissed. yanking me toward the blackness. My foot slipped, my body tilting toward the abyss. For a split second, I saw what was waiting for me inside. Bodies, dozens of them. Some were fresh, eyes wide with terror. Others were rotting, their flesh peeling from their skulls. Their mouths hung open in silent screams, their hands reaching toward me. Thomas Redding was among them. His face was twisted in agony, his fingers twitching. Still alive. I lost it. I thrashed, kicked, fought like an animal trying to escape a trap. Danielle let out a furious scream and drove the crowbar straight into the thing's hand. It let go. I fell back onto the floor, gasping for air. Danielle grabbed me by the shirt. "We have to get out of here." The closet door slammed shut. The entire room shook. The walls cracked. The ceiling groaned. The lights flickered wildly. The whispering grew louder, overlapping voices hissing from inside the closet. "Not yours, not yours, not yours." Then the door exploded open. The thing inside came crawling out. It was wrong. Its arms and legs bent the wrong way, its skin stretched too tight over jagged bones. Its head twitched. A pair of glowing, sunken eyes locked onto mine. It smiled. "Not yours." And then it lunged. We ran. Danielle shoved me toward the door, and I stumbled into the hallway. The thing scraped across the floor behind us, its body jerking with unnatural speed. I nearly tripped down the stairs. Danielle yanked me up and we bolted. I could hear it crawling after us. No footsteps, just the sound of flesh dragging against wood. I didn't look back. We reached the front door and slammed through it, tumbling into the night air. The second my feet hit the pavement, I spun and yanked Danielle away from the building. And then, the entire apartment complex shuddered. The windows burst, glass raining onto the street. The walls bulged like something was moving inside them. And then, the building collapsed in on itself, like a mouth snapping shut. The police never found anything. They said the building had structural issues, that it had been unstable for years. They called it a freak accident. No bodies were recovered. Not mine, not Danielle's, not Thomas Redding's, and not the thing in the closet. It's been weeks. Danielle won't talk about what happened. I don't blame her. I keep telling myself it's over, that it's gone, that the thing died when the building collapsed. But deep down I know better, because last night I woke up to a sound I haven't heard since that night. A slow rhythmic knocking, coming from my new closet. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on the next video.